This session is called Using URL Redirection, and you're going to be learning how and when to use URL redirects for search engine optimization. So first off, why should you redirect? Well, using URL redirects is an essential way to preserve link authority, to avoid broken links, and to make sure that your hard-earned SEO work doesn't go to waste if you happen to move your content around a little bit. So by the end of this session, you're going to understand the different types of redirects and a few situations that you'd want to use them in. So how do redirects work? Well, they're quite as simple in function as the diagram on your screen. There's an old page and you simply redirect to the new page. The old page doesn't even load, it just redirects straight to the new page. So what URL redirection is a technique used to tell the browser and search engine robots that a page no longer exists or has moved and where they need to be looking for the new address. So when a browser or bot sees the redirect, the user is immediately redirected to the new location, and it's so quick that they're not even going to notice. So I'd like to give you an SEO example of why redirects are so important. So this first example here is without a redirect. Now, let's say, for example, you have an old page and it no longer exists. You've created a new page, but you did not create a redirect. Well, over time, you've likely gotten links to that old page, and those links are still pointing to the old address. And let's say you had enough links that that old page was a pretty good page rank, a page rank 4. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to do you any good anymore. The new page is going to be a page rank 0. You're going to have to start from scratch, and all of those links that you got are essentially worthless. Now, just by adding a redirect, all of those links are going to 301 redirect through the old page to the new page. So this is going to tell Google that all of those links that are pointing to the old page should now be attributed to the new page. So just by adding this simple redirect, you now took all the link authority from your old page and moved it to the new page. So you can imagine how important having this redirect is. Without it in place, you're starting from scratch. Your new page has absolutely no authority. However, with it in place, you can move your content around, and all of those old links that you bought are still going to have authority passing through right to that new page. So we're going to be looking at two types of redirects today. The 301, which means moved permanently, and the 307, which means moved temporarily. So when your site is temporarily unavailable, let's say, for example, you're rolling out some new features, you're doing some development work, and you want to have a splash page that says under construction, please come back later, something like that, some sort of temporary page to just stop users from seeing what you're working on. A 307 is a perfect redirect to use, because if Google finds it, they're not going to assume that that splash page is now your new website, which of course you wouldn't want them to do. So the 307 is that temporary redirect that you're going to want to use. Now, this used to be a 302, if you've heard of a 302 redirect, but that was recently changed to just mean found and to not actually tell the bot any reason why something's moved, whereas the 307 actually returns to the bot temporarily unavailable. And that sends a clear message to them that this is just temporary and you can come back later and things will be back to normal. So another reason why you'd want to use a redirect is to redirect the non-www version of your domain name to the www version. So for example, if someone types in domain.com, you can have that immediately redirect to www.domain.com. And as you've learned in other videos, you're going to want to do this to avoid duplicate content. Now, this is a perfect use of the 301 redirect, which means moved permanently. So you're going to want to set one or the other and then make sure that you're 301ing all of the URLs from either one to the other. It's up to you which one you choose. Most people seem to choose www, but as long as you're sticking with one, that's all that really matters. Another place where the 301 redirect is really useful is if you have multiple top-level domains. Say, for example, your business acquired the .net, .org, and .com content. If you have old, outdated content and you're creating new content, which is great, you're definitely going to want to make sure to redirect. Now, of course, what you'll want to do is redirect to the new version. If you don't have a new version, I actually just recommend redirecting to the homepage as opposed to letting it 404. It's better to have all those links just head to your root domain name, but hopefully you have a relevant counterpart of that new content that you can redirect to. That's always the best. So there's a few different ways to actually implement these redirects, and htaccess redirects are probably the most common. They're used by Linux servers running Apache, and they're very, very useful. This method is a bit technical though, so you're probably going to need to consult with your web developer if you're going to be using an htaccess file to control redirects. I do recommend looking at htaccessredirect.net. They have a really great little web app where you can type in the old URLs and the new URLs, and it will generate an htaccess file that you can then upload into your root folder. Just a quick word of warning. If you're not that comfortable with htaccess files, if you haven't really worked with them in the past, I wouldn't recommend doing this. I would recommend contacting a web developer, because if you get something wrong and the redirects don't work, you might end up in trouble. So another great way to handle redirects if you're on WordPress is a plugin called Redirection. I actually use this on pretty much all of my WordPress sites, because what it does is it allows you to control any type of redirect you need to do straight from inside of WordPress's user interface. It makes it very, very easy. So I definitely recommend looking at Redirection. One of the really cool features that it does is if you change the name of a blog post, you don't have to do anything manually. It keeps track of all your URLs, and if any of them changes, it'll automatically do the redirects. Really, really cool plugin. Very, very useful. Okay, so in conclusion, redirecting is an essential step in the SEO process, especially as time goes on and as content changes. If you relaunch a new site, you're going to want to preserve all that hard SEO work you've done in the past. So make sure that you do a redirect, get all those links to pass to the new page, and make sure that you're not losing out on all that hard work you've done.